The critical reading process is essential for learning how to read like a historian. Reading like a historian involves developing your skills in reading for disciplinary literacy using the critical reading process. What does that mean? Well, it means reading to understand the historical context of the text. The critical reading process supports social emotional learning by demonstrating curiosity and open-mindedness while teaching us how to make a reasoned judgment after analyzing information, data, and facts. That's what history is all about: analyzing information, a set of data, and relevant facts, and making our judgments or forming our opinions as a result of that analyzation. There are three important phases to the critical reading process. Phase one is to activate our brains so we're ready for the text. Phase two is to engage with the text. This is when our brain is working overtime to understand the context and information we are reading. Phase three is how we extend beyond the text and apply the information and knowledge we've learned from the text. Phase one of reading like a historian is activation. To do that effectively, we need to do three things, three critical steps. Step one, have a plan for reading. We need to establish a purpose and expectations for the reading. Start by identifying a purpose for the reading, how the information will be used, what skills we need to have access to, what materials we need to have access to, and what the specific content will be. Step two, we need to select the text. Now, in this class, most of the time, I will pre-select the text for you, either a small selection from our course textbook, could be in a physical book or in a PDF copy on your Chromebook. Other times, it will be a select reading article or passage from an outside source. That could be an academic source or a historic document. Sometimes, though, when you select a text, either a supplemental text from the library or from my collection or from the web, you will need to pay attention that you are selecting a text that will help you accomplish your specific goal for that day. Step three is we need to preview the text by performing a pre-read. This is where you determine what work needs to be done prior to reading the text successfully. Preview the text and connect to or build background knowledge. Identify the key strategies you'll use to read successfully. Strategies like focused note-taking are very helpful throughout the critical reading process. Phase two of reading like a historian is to engage with the text. There are two important steps to engaging with the text. First is to build our vocabulary, both our academic vocabulary and the content-specific vocabulary. You can do this from our textbook by searching for the key terms, vocabulary, and dates from within the margins, writing the information in your notebook and connecting it to your objective or essential question. Remember, how you take notes is up to you so long as you take notes. From the provided text selections and workbooks, the key vocabulary will be provided, though you should still note it in your notebook. Second is to interact with the text, to make it have a connection to your understanding, to have meaning. First, you want to read it like a quick read to get an overview. Then you read it more thoroughly for an understanding and to organize your notes. You can number the paragraphs, you can identify key terms or phrases, key vocabulary. The main function is to identify the key points of the text, the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why of an event. Reread those most important parts of the text and reread again if necessary for mastery. How you will use this information, how you will interact with the text is what's important. Phase three, and the last phase of reading like a historian, is to extend the text. To do this, to get beyond the text, We need to apply information and knowledge from the text. What will the reader do with the information? How will this knowledge be used for a test, maybe, for a paper, for a class project, for our notes, or for some sort of presentation? Identify a strategy or strategies for processing that information, for taking it down. BT Dubs, focused notes are a great way to help remember the information you've read and have it ready for recall for all our assignments. Tests included. Lastly, and this is most importantly for you, which academic thinking skill are you using? Are you applying the information in a practical sense for a specific assignment? Are you analyzing the text as a knowledge check for yourself? Are you evaluating the text for comparison purposes, or are you synthesizing the text to shorten it for easier recall? So, this is our textbook, and this is the best and easiest way to use it. I do not recommend reading the textbook in its entirety. That is, to read the entire book word for word. It's over 1,000 pages and likely, I don't know, 1,000,000 plus words. No, thank you. So we'll be reading select passages from both the textbook and the workbooks, either with the physical copies or via PDFs online. This will allow me to present the most pertinent, most relevant information to you without overloading you with unnecessary information that's not as relevant to the course, or it doesn't connect as easily to your lives now, and it will not help us move forward proactively. The parts of this book are pretty simple. They include a table of contents, which lists all the modules or chapters and the individual units or lessons, with main headings and subheadings at or near the beginning of the textbook. The gigantic 2-inch section in the middle is the substance of the book, the actual content pages. That's where most of the 1,000 pages come from. Next, we have the reference materials, an atlas, which is a collection of maps, world maps, maps of the United States, maps of specific trade routes, both domestically and internationally, and maps of individual geographic regions within the United States. There is also an English and Spanish glossary, which provides the definitions of the key words and phrases throughout the text in both English and Spanish. When we are conducting a pre-reading as part of our critical reading process, this is where you'll find the definitions of the key words and phrases for that particular lesson. And lastly, there is an index, an alphabetical listing of every key word or phrase used throughout the text, shown with the same page numbers that the word is present or that it's used within the text. This is an easy way to start with a vocabulary word and see what module or chapter and which unit or lesson it was used, where you can find it without having to flip through 10 or 15 or 20 pages. This slide shows a sample of the guided reading selections from the workbook. These will be used throughout the semester to augment or add to the live in-person lectures, or when we have to substitute when I'm off fighting crime and saving the world, otherwise known as a dentist visit, something else very mundane and boring. You will have access to these workbooks in both print and digital form, and we'll still use our notebooks in practice, focused note-taking, and critical reading for all selections.